What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports, back again with another one. One of the fights that's been talked about for the last 4 years. Boxing fans have debated. People have taken sides. People have long wanting this heavyweight matchup. So far has not come to fruition, featuring the master of the one-hitter quitter, former WBC heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder, taking on former unified heavyweight champion, former Olympian Anthony Joshua. Now Eddie Hearn, who's getting ready to put on a heavyweight unification fight in the main event of a Matchroom Boxing card, is making the rounds, doing these interviews, and put this out there when asked about his prize pupil, #1 fighter on the Matchroom Boxing, Anthony Joshua, taking on Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder. He said he put in a phone call to his manager, Shelly Finkel, who Eddie Hearn once referred to as Shirley Winkle. And he said that Shelly Finkel has not responded to his phone calls, has not returned his phone calls, didn't answer when Eddie Hearn called him, and that he has a boatload of money for Deontay Wilder. Now, he also said that Anthony Joshua, if he defeats Alexander Usyk this Saturday, that Anthony Joshua will be looking to take on Tyson Fury for Undisputed. But if Anthony Joshua loses, he would like to talk to Shelly Finkel about that fight transpiring toward the end of 2022. As he said previously, that Anthony Joshua will fight in December. Win, lose, or draw against Alexander Usyk, Anthony Joshua will fight in December. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But Eddie Hearn is doing Eddie Hearn type of things. Eddie Hearn is doing a lot of slick talking, answering the question, but he really ain't answering the question. Basically saying he got a boatload of money, but AJ, if he wins, he's not going to be available. If he loses, then we can talk about it. And in all actuality, he's not looking to make AJ versus Deontay Wilder anytime soon. In fact, he'd rather Deontay Wilder take on Dillian White. That's the fight he actually wants to make happen. Consolation prize is Derek Chisora. He would also wouldn't mind putting that fight on. If he can't get Deontay Wilder versus Dillian White, he would take Deontay Wilder taking on Derek Chisora. So that's what that boatload of money he referring to is for those two fights. It's not for a fight with Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, if he loses to Usyk, I'm hearing that he could go take on Zing over there in Asia. That's what I'm hearing. That'd be a big money fight over there in Asia. As you know, Asia got the bag, man. In the way he fights over there, and he's had a lot of high-profile fights over there in Asia. His last fight, devastating knockout over future Hall of Fame fighter Nonito Donaire. That fight took place over there in Asia. So that's what I've been hearing, that AJ could go over there, or he could stay in the UK. Maybe go to Cardiff, because it's going to be cold in December. Go to Cardiff, they have a retractable roof, and have a rematch with Dillian White. Those are the two likely scenarios if Anthony Joshua wins. And if he loses, actually. If he loses, that's probably the likely scenario if he loses. Even if he wins, if Tyson Fury stay true to his word and is retired, then AJ could take on Zing up in Asia, or take on Dillian White. That'd be a huge UK domestic level fight. They can put that over there in Cardiff. Like I said, they have a retractable roof over there. During December, you know, it gets real cold over there in the UK, so I don't think Wembley will be a venue for that fight to take place in December. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But Eddie Hearn, once again, is with the smoke and mirrors, making it look like Deontay Wilder's team don't want to fight. A lot of people out here saying that Deontay Wilder ducked AJ when he turned down that DAZN multi-fight deal. But when you look back at it, that's a lie. Because Anthony Joshua wasn't signed to DAZN. Anthony Joshua was signed to Sky Sports. That's what he was fighting on. He was fighting on Sky Sports. He was doing Sky sports pay-per-views. He couldn't have fought on the zone. So that deal that Deontay Wilder turned down, and people were up in an uproar at that time saying that he ducked out on the fight with AJ. He could have made more money than that fight with AJ and that multi-fight deal with the zone than he made in his entire career with the PBC. You know, those people that were talking all that talk, talking all that yak. In actuality, AJ was never signed to the zone. So it was no guarantee if he was signed with the zone, he was going to get the AJ fight. Because AJ was signed to Sky Sports. He was signed to Matchroom Boxing. His deal with Matchroom Boxing was separate from Eddie Hearn's deal with the zone. That's what people don't know or fail to realize or play crazy. Know it, but don't want to bring it out because they don't team Joshua. They want to make Deontay Wilder look like he's a duck. In all actuality, it was AJ that ducked the fight when he turned down that $50 million in that 50-50 pay-per-view split that Wilder offered him 4 years ago. More than 4 years ago. Eddie Hearn and Barry Hearn, they convinced AJ to turn that fight down. They say they was on a 10-year plan for AJ, and there was no sense of making that fight at that moment. That fight could be made somewhere down the line. And here we is 4 years later, and the fight still hasn't come to fruition. And despite what Eddie Hearn said in that IFL TV interview, the fight is no closer to happening now than it was 4 years ago. Because make no mistake about it, they ain't looking to put AJ in the ring with Deontay Wilder no time soon. They know that AJ has a glass jaw. They know that Deontay Wilder is the master of the one-hitter quitter. He can knock you into another atmosphere. So why chance your number one fighter under Matchroom Boxing in that type of dangerous fight? Why would they do that? It ain't nothing but smoke and mirrors and nothing but propaganda for Eddie Hearn. Win, lose, or draw, AJ is fighting in December. And the two opponents that I'm hearing is either Zing or White. Now, Fury comes back before the 26th and tell WBC that he's not retired. He wants to defend the WBC belt after the Joshua Usyk fight is concluded. And Joshua has won that fight. Then, you know, Matchroom Boxing would want to go back down to Saudi Arabia and do AJ versus Fury. That's a big money fight. And once again, Matchroom Boxing can get the bag, a huge sack fee to put on that event. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But the bottom line is Deontay Wilder is not part of the plan for AJ. Not now, not in the near future. And I won't be a bit surprised they ever put AJ in the ring with Deontay Wilder. If it's AJ's last fight, and they know that AJ is pretty much through, gonna retire to this fight, then there's a chance that fight can happen. They'll put him in there because it's still a big money fight. It's still the most anticipated heavyweight fight in the division. And they would probably still have a lot of interest in that fight, even down the line. So they probably would, in that situation, put AJ in the ring with Deontay Wilder. But even if he loses to Usyk, man, AJ still can have some big fights over there in the UK. It's still, like I said, a Dillian White fight. They can do again, the rematch. And they got this guy, Zing. He's fighting on the undercard. If he's successful in the undercard, they can have a big fight over there in Asia. And they've got other fighters that they can put AJ in the ring with. They can put him in there with Derek Chisora. Derek Chisora needs an opponent. Maybe he's a possible matchup for AJ. So he's got several fighters that they can put AJ in there before they put him in there with a dangerous fighter as Deontay Wilder. So we will see what happens. And we will see what transpires. Follow me on Facebook, Gerard.Briscoe.3551. Like, share, and subscribe to JB Sports. The man, the myth, the legend. And I holla.